Hey, just kidding. Just kidding.
Alright,
All right.
that's cool.
Now you can go.
Alright. Here's an idea. We are all becoming hybrids in today's globalized, cosmopolitan, and hyper-connected world. In fact, for you and me, as students at an international American school in Singapore, hybridity is already our cultural reality. For example, all of us intuitively understand how difficult it is to name just one culture to say that we're from. Hybridity in post-colonial theory is an extension of that idea. It's the idea that there is no singular culture anymore. Instead, there is only what post-colonial theorist Homi K. Bhabha calls the third space, where Eastern and Western culture have converged and mixed to the point where they create something new, and they are no longer distinct. As a media enthusiast coming from a mixed cultural background, I was deeply interested in reaching a new understanding of how this growing phenomenon of the third space was represented in popular contemporary films, and what those representations would mean. I chose to study Big Hero 6, a critically acclaimed 2014 Disney Pixar animation film, since it has not yet been analyzed by film scholars, despite the film's strong potential for readings on hybridity. The film's protagonist is Hiro Hamada, a 14-year-old Japanese-American robotics prodigy, who transforms himself, his healthcare robot Baymax, and his friends into high-tech heroes to save the city of San Francisco, a fusion of San Francisco and Tokyo. The overtly hybrid setting and the style of the story, along with the implications of a film being produced by Disney, a major transnational media conglomerate seen by some as an exporter of American culture, makes an analysis of hybridity in the film even more relevant to society. Although the primary purpose of my research is to apply critical theory and film theory to analyze hybridity in Big Hero 6's world, the significance of this goes beyond the screen. By studying the world of Big Hero 6, we can self-reflexively examine hybridity in our own world. These ideas prompted me to develop a research question that reflected the relationship of hybridity in film and society. My question became, how are American and Japanese elements hybridized in Big Hero 6, and to what effect? What illumination does Big Hero 6 offer us for envisioning the 21st century city of invention and multicultural metropolis? My question was adapted from an earlier science fiction study, Yuen's analysis of hybridity in the fictional fusion settings of the films Blade Runner and Ghost in the Shell, linking them to the post-colonial cityscape of Hong Kong. As a whole, research addressing the gap of cinematic representations in hybridity has increased greatly in the past decade, but I hope to contribute to a new understanding by extending current concepts to a new object of analysis, Big Hero 6. In my paper, I argue that San Francisco is a utopian embodiment of Bhabha's third space. It is at once familiar and alien, and neither American nor Japanese. This hybrid state is celebrated and shown as progressive through a hyper-realistic and humanistic application of the cinematic elements of mise-en-scène and diegesis. Mise-en-scène refers to San Francisco as a film set, from the buildings to the lighting and the animation model, while diegesis refers to San Francisco as a story world, from events that occurred in the plot to events and spaces presumed to have happened or exist off-screen. These two devices interact to form the impression that San Francisco is a hybrid utopia that is symptomatic or representative of today's vision of a postmodern society. Although the primary research question is concerned with how film ultimately celebrates the hybrid world within the text, we can use this interpretation of a hybrid utopia as a springboard to examine the state of hybridity in cosmopolitan societies today. My research is explanatory and emergent. Like most of film studies research, it is interdisciplinary. It's at the crossroads of cultural theory, which examines racial and cultural representations, and film theory, which examines cinematic representations. My method is film analysis, or close reading, to uncover a film's thematic meaning and relation to society. While there is no set approach to this technique, and there is no one true meaning of the film, the creativity and fluidity of its qualitative nature made it an ideal method for my research. It may seem at times that I'm going beyond the scope of my study to apply Big Hero 6 to today's society, but the central tenets of film analysis maintain that the film's social implications are paramount, even though it relies on aesthetic means, and that films, as products of society, are always situated in direct relation to their actual social and historical context. To explore the textual and contextual elements, I followed the dual formal social approach, which was found in Nichols' seminal film studies introductory textbook. My process was both inductive and deductive. It was a back and forth between rewatching the film, applying film language from introductory film studies texts, gathering information on the film's production and critical reception, and reading post-colonial texts and critical theory on hybridity. Modeling Napier's analysis of Hayao Miyazaki's animation films, my findings are organized by central themes in the subtext of hybridity and how these themes manifest into these scenes. I identified two themes that contribute to the utopian qualities of the third space in the film. First one is hyperrealism, defined by Pallant as a stylized realism that is not completely true to life, and humanism, which is defined by Nichols as an attitude that stresses the common bonds of love, trust, labor, hopes, and dreams that combine people of diverse backgrounds to a common identity. Firstly, hyperrealism gives San Francisco the feeling of being both familiar and alien, a trait that led John Lasseter, chief creative officer of Disney, to call it the modern mythical place. The formal elements are all based on careful study of Japanese and American design elements, but compounded with anime and comic book influences, and the blended cultural look of the world of San Francisco comes off as real even though it is stylized. The base of the animation model of San Francisco is actually the real city actuator data from San Francisco, while much of the architectural design reimagines the Victorian houses with Meiji Restoration design and the hilly streets as districts in Shibuya. Through the hyperrealistic aesthetic, the abstract idea of a third space is given immediate form. Secondly, humanism is shown in how Big Hero 6's story emphasizes the societal benefit of the dissolution of binary oppositions, not just between America and Japan, but also in machines and humans. Baymax, which is kind of a mascot of the film, is a soft healthcare robot, which kind of redefines how we normally would think of machines. He's a human robot, and he becomes a surrogate brother to Hero following the death of Hero's brother. The friendship between Hero and Baymax can serve as an allegory for how, in post-humanism, we can get to the point where we go beyond the distinctions of traditional cultures. Additionally, the main conflict of the film comes from Hero's inability to move past his grief for his brother. The revenge plot of the film can be seen, again, as an allegory of how conflicting ideas can prevent a more humanist and more beneficial form of hybridity. A few key scenes that I would look at in terms of analyzing the hyperrealism of the animation and the humanism of the story would be the first flight scene, in which Hero is able to finally get Baymax to work for the first time so they can fly across San Francisco. And that is an interesting scene to analyze the architectural elements and also the humanist elements in it. And the second scene is Into the Portal, which is near the ending of the film, when Baymax actually sacrifices himself. So that is, again, interesting to look at the hybrid world there, because it's not actually in San Francisco anymore, but it is an allegory that I would get more into in my paper and how that shows hybridity. In conclusion, San Francisco exemplifies the vision of American society for a future where cultures coexist and combine. In context of an American society increasingly fractured over racial tension, San Francisco is a timely American reimagining of a 21st century city of invention and multicultural metropolis. Through its ideological world construction, the message of Big Hero 6 seems to be that we should look to the evolution and not the erasure of culture. What is perhaps most interesting and immediately relevant about the film's portrayal of hybridity is how it offers an alternative to dominant Asian American texts in Hollywood, which often still have Orientalist and tokenizing angles. Orientalism is defined by Edward Said as an attempt to control or manipulate another culture, and tokenism is defined by Hodgkinson as a superficial attempt to include characters of diverse ethnicities to appear inclusive. In contrast to those ideas, Big Hero 6 explicitly situates itself as a hybrid text that does not aim to speak for any one culture. Thus, through the upbeat and progressive tone of the film, we can see an affirmation and the potential of digital mediation of new racialized identities, and a depiction of hybridity as a positive mobilizing force in our modern society. Thank you.